Chapter 7 The Living Soul. Begin all acts and thinking by using Ankh LIFE. Tablet 1 The Living Soul. 19 times 19 equals 361. Lo, Anu Elion El, the Supreme, the Most High, the highest of the Anunnaki, who is praised, the father of Enki and mother Ninti. It was he who made the makers and taught them all, who created the creators, and it was he who fashioned the fashioners. He is the one who is the originator of the originators, the builder of the built things, before the first and after the last. Once you are out of love and compassion for yourself, then and only then can you overstand the physical world in which you reside, and which you perceive through what you think to be your five senses. But in reality, when you did lay in the laboratory of Shimti, and time had gone by, there was your bathory gland removed from you. This maimed you and cut you off from random access to the divine. Originally, you had what was called Netatar 10, the 7 senses that could activate the 7 higher senses. You could ascend even higher until you ascend back into divinity, but you are still trapped by 1 sense touch, which is multiplied by deception into 5. For to see, light touches nerve centers. To smell, particles touch nerve centers. To hear, sound waves touch nerve centers. And to feel, you reach and touch things, which activate your nerve centers. They multiply this 1 sense, the sense to really know, to see, hear, taste, smell and feel. The removal of the bathory gland removed the 4 higher senses, which were telepathy, psychometry, clairvoyance and intuition. The senses are necessary for your random access throughout the boundless universe, and they have trapped you in a state of cause and effect, to and fro, up and down, good and bad, in this world of cause and effect, the world of light. You were made human, given lesser knowledge which controls you. When things are being thoroughly investigated, the knowledge becomes complete. Their knowledge being complete has made their thoughts sincere, their hearts being rectified, and their self is then cultivated. With their self being cultivated, their families were regulated, their states were rightly governed, the whole kingdom was made tranquil and happy. It is necessary for you to overstand the spiritual realm and the world of darkness, in which you would be using all your 7 senses, thereby rendering you an Elohim. Then, even higher onto your 9 senses, rendering you an Etheric being, which is the true world of causes. There are combinations of elements that existed before, and all living creatures are what their past actions made them, for the law of cause and effect is uniform and without exception. The 7 descending planes, being Khnum the potter, the Ab heart of Anu El-Elo the source, who is Elion El, of the abode called Lahut. El-Elo is appointed by El-Kalun the All, from which all originated. The source of divine reality, the spark of life. Life is the time you spend in your Kahat body on Earth or on other planets. From the moment of conception between sperm and ovum, there is life and light, divine or otherwise. Prior to fertilization, there was a 3-month preparation inside the female and male in darkness. This is actually the first 3 months of life of the human being. Once the egg is fertilized by the male sperm, the child is already in the 4th month of life. So the woman really carries the child for 12 months, not the 9 months that you have been falsely led to believe. The source of divine truth are the guardians or the Anunnaki. The source of the mental plane, the plane of Ark spirit, and Ba soul, where the thoughts are formed. The source of the spiritual plane, where the emotions are manifested. The source of the plane of force, where the force is between voluntary and involuntary actions, which life substance is manifested. The source of the material plane, the governor of carnal desire. Material, not spiritual, like where Anu El-Elo, who is also Elion El, to rule over the heavens and the planet Earth, who is called Yahweh, or Jehav by the Mizraimites, or those of Kemet, Egypt. This became Yahweh, but Yah agreeable, and Weh disagreeable. He is being called the light of the heavens and earth by those who worship the sun. This was placed in the heart of El-Elo the source, who is called Anu. The plane of force is a plane about which the human mind cannot conceive the knowledge concerning it. For he is El-Elo the all-knowing and the all-wise, the supreme being. He is El-Elo, and you should have no other El-Elo with him. Say it in your heart, I have faith by way of Anu, as he is. By using all of his names and acknowledging all of his special qualities, by accepting them in your heart and reciting it with your tongue, thus declaring, I would be faithful to Anu and all of the messengers or Anunnaki of Anu, and all of the scriptures, and all of those Rasulat sent forth by Anu, who is Anu, for guidance, and in a final day, when all actions will be judged, according to whether they be agreeable or disagreeable. All of this comes from Anu, Elion Elion El, right up until death. There are two lives, life on earth and life after the physical death. Death is the door which takes you from one stage in life to the next stage of higher life. If that person was a highly spiritual person, their soul will pass at once through the planes, or even bypass the planes and go into the heavens or other galaxies, from where their soul and ether being originated. With the help of the elder Anunnaki, the Agigi, the heavenly host, or 24 elders who sit around the throne called Shayuk. You should not weep at natural death, but rejoice and welcome the presence of the Allahum. The Anunnaki bless you with old age, which allows the physical body to rest from the harmful activities that we indulge in every day. Old age prepares humans for their inevitable judgment, so escape not from the possibility of becoming elderly, for it is an honored gift that everyone receives. You may weep for the murdered victims, or accidents or illness, and life cut off before old age. You can weep for the pain they felt, but not for the transferred from this world to the next. You cannot take from the all, and you cannot add to the all. The all merely shares, and you become. The plane of divine reality is the mental spark, the true essence of the human being, the light of life in human beings, a divine spark, reflected spark from Anu Elion Elion El, the Most High, the Highest, manifesting itself as effect. Light disturbed the supreme balancement of darkness, and he created individualism, or a focal point, which manifests itself there as opposed to here. This spark is in each individual, making them a supreme being, onto beings, known as Anunnaki, Allahumat, and then onto human beings. Onto human being, onto human, onto men, onto mammal, onto beast-like man, beast onto demon. As ether beings, rulers of the agreeable Anunnaki, Sarufat, who came incarnate on behalf of human beings, the disagreeable Anunnaki, Garubat, can incarnate on behalf of man and the beast man, having both male and female gender. For in the spirit, Cadman, son of Autumn, and his wife Lilith, and Nekeba, son of Fatah, and his wife Aneth, are one being. Thus you, Cadman, are Nekeba, and you, Nekeba, are Cadman. He is also called Adam. It is on this plane where the mental spark is formed, the shell of the spiritual body of Cadman, who is the ruler of Nasut, the abode of Enoshites, a spark of divine consciousness, leading to the development of the human soul, being in the likeness of the Anunnaki, and Anu El Elo, the most glorified and exalted light, as a child of the Allahum. The spark of consciousness, this mental spark that radiates a part of itself to the planes below it. It projects down to the spiritual plane and forms what you call the soul. It is the light of Anu El Elo, most glorified and exalted becoming life. The spiritual body, or etheric you, is the shell of the soul. The spiritual body will be visible as ethereal form to those close to the deceased. This is the spirit, together with the 2.5 of soul, and the breath of life. It's the last thing to leave the body, following the soul. The spirit then becomes drowsy and sinks into the preliminary sleep of the spiritual plane. The spiritual body houses the soul of the spiritual etheric plane. When the breath of life ceases to exist in human beings, the etheric cord and the spiritual body is cut. This allows the person to live an extended and independent etheric life. Much like when a baby is born, the umbilical cord is cut from the mother, which she once depended upon. The baby comes out and begins a whole new life. The soul is greater than life, because when life is no more, the soul remains forever. In that which the being has done that has affected others, his soul is his essence, and he's remembered time. The soul is greater. It gives you your will to live or die in the physical. Thus the physical life of the soul is 1,000 years in this realm, and the spiritual life of the soul, as the spirit of the shell of the soul, is 43,800 years, but the existence of the soul in the minds of those affected is eternity. When a person dies, the soul and the breath of life is the last thing to leave the physical body. Then, being saying the human should live 120 Earth years and 1,000 as nature and a part of nature on the plane of force, which is the breath of life. His existence goes on to complete a cycle of existence until he or she is remembered no more. Anu is remembered, Humbaba is forgotten. This soul attracts bacteria and a form is shaped around it, which is a body that is formed by the hand of the Anunnaki, the most glorified and exalted ones, the benevolent ones. On the arms of Enki Israel, the angelic being of death, son of Anu and Id. Built on the atoms of the physical plane, it manifests as a mortal, body and spirit, giving birth to a living soul. The body, the spirit, the living soul is the successor of the earthly plane, a son of the Anunnaki Cadman. You were born by the will of Anu, El Elo, a living soul. The mental sparks all connected through the spiritual umbilical cord, the etheric cord. In respect to the planes, the plane of divine truth is the spiritual perfection and attainment, a plane exempt from all carnal desires, supreme spiritual bliss. It is a level of consciousness which is of the daily expressions of those you call ranks of angelic beings, Kohen Zodokai priests, the 23 elders, Akatriel, Anaphiel, Asbuga, Bariuel, Kimiuel, Kaiel, Galgaliel, Haniel, Uphiel, Uhuel, Metatron, Raguel, Cadasin, Raduariel, Razuel, Ritbiel, Mahei, Shamuel, Yarnun, Suriel, Yafafia, Zagzagul and Sandalfun. The 24th seat is open to all the news bearers, and the 25th is the one of the 24 who takes the seat of overseer. As the 19th becomes the 25th in the renewal of history, as Yanun becomes Melchizedek, which takes place every equinox, when Yanun personified in the year 1970 AD into Isa al-Hadi al-Mahdi, called then Imam Isa, and he descended onto the planet Earth. He took the place of the 25th seat, and another Anunnaki was placed in the 19th seat. And nearness to the heart of Anu El Elo, most glorified and exalted. It is the school of Anunnaki of green light, from where they have the ability to personify as 12 times 12, and it is here that one is translated from a mental state into that of a divine state. The mental plane is the plane of the chosen. Rejoice at the glad tidings. The chosen one, our master, has found the root of all evil, disagreeableness. He has shown us the way to salvation, NWPU. The chosen one dispels the illusions of our mind, and he breaks the spell of Kingu and redeems us from the fears of death. The chosen one, our master, brings comfort to the weary and sorrow laden. He restores place to those who are broken down under the burden of this life. He gives courage to the weak when they are at times end, and they are ready to give up self-reliance, and they hope the chosen one has proclaimed the truth, NWPU. Let the truth of the chosen one dwell in your hearts, extinguishing yourselves every desire that antagonizes the chosen one, and in the perfection of your spiritual growth you will become like unto him. Those of you which cannot or will not develop into the chosen one must perish, for it is the source of your error, it is the cause of your misery. It is those of you who through flashes of intuitive illumination from the higher source, who have the ability to perceive that which the ordinary human perceives not. The chosen is that one who finds his normal consciousness level, expressing a bright light from within the inner sun at the seat of the solar plexus. This plane is the midway plane between the human being and the supreme being, where all those of the ancient and mystical order of Melchizedek spiritually meet, where they adorn their crimson to black crown, and you listen to hear the tassel bell of happiness sound, where their heart is wrapped with the noble sash, a token of authority, dignity, power, honor and reward, worn as a symbol of glory and remembrance of their great path. As they raise to the heights from degree to degree, 720 is what they will be. 360 master the physical, and all 360 opens the way to the spiritual hall. 27, 9 to the 9th power of 9. At this point you become master over space and time, knowing no depth, no height, and you raise from the darkness of ignorance to the intellectual light, which endures all temptations when it is tried. A crown that is his own, the jacket with the wings of an angel is worn. Thus, you have your inner pyramid. Pira means fire, and mid means the center. The nose on the face inhales the oxygen that ignites the sun in the middle of your chest, where the lotus breastplate rests. And the son of the Anunnaki, most glorified and exalted ones, Malakut, which is ruled by Malachi Zadok, plane of divine love. a compassion not yet comprehended by human beings, but it will be, of which earthly love is only a reflection, a compassion that realizes not only the self, but expresses a compassion that can encompass all. With the true lights, the skin of the soul is the force field of the mental substance, manifested as your Ankh or Nafas spirit. In the lower part of the mental force field, the spirit forms the cat, physical body, as a lower aspect of itself, and it builds a home for the Ba, Ruach, living soul. The physical form, then it's built around the lower aspect of the spiritual form. The Ba, Ruach, soul, and the spiritual life determines the form of the body. The light of the soul as it perspires through the spiritual skin, this is called the true light, a result of the light of the sun that burns within your solar plexus. It is the dictionary of your emotions. The mental plane is the plane where the spirit or the soul are outgrown, and the thoughts take form. With the subplanes, each plane is broken up into 7 subplanes, which are broken up into 7 subplanes, down to the 7th degree of 7. The 4th subplane of the spiritual plane is a battleground for the mind of human beings. This is where an external and internal struggle go on between its higher and lower mind, and the emotions are formed, vibrating on their own selfish frequency. With mental intuition, the 3 subplanes are the realms of your subconsciousness, and the upper 3 subplanes are the realms of your mental intuition, or the superconsciousness of Cadman, son of Autumn. It, your superconsciousness, is from where your soul descends into spirit and forms the body. In the middle chamber, the first, the world, the last. Remember the various levels of the mind, the walking conscious mind, as it works through your everyday awareness, and it is clothed in the matter of the physical plane. The subconscious mind operates through the sympathetic nervous system, which is the system of cells, tissues and organs that regulates the body's responses to internal and external stimuli. In vertebrates, it consists of the brain, spinal cord, nerves, ganglia, and different parts of the receptor and effector organs. The subconscious mind as it operates your faculties of intuition, and the wisdom of the mind as it operates through you. As yet undeveloped qualities of divinity are found at the end of the true seeker's path. The plane of force is a plane largely composed of energy forces and etheric ka, duplicates of the physical plane's objects. The plane of force is not subject to the law of gravitation as you overstand it. The plane of force is dominated by the law of attraction. Upon the plane of force, there is neither distance nor time. There is no heat or cold, summer or winter, day or shadow hour. It is a plane of aspiring desires as well as carnal. The physical plane consists of dense chemical regions of solids, liquids and gases, and the etheric region consisting of 4 higher physical ethers: ultra gaseous matter, life force ether, light ether and mental ether. The attribute of Anu, Elyon, Elyon El, the most high, the highest, formed on the higher planes, stepped down to become your intuition, the intuition of a human being, and the intuition of human beings stepped down into his conscious and became his character, his living soul. The ultra gaseous matter, ether, is the most dense and the lowest of all the 4 ethers of the physical plane. The ultra gaseous matter ether is the channel for all the physical forces with which you are familiar with, like heat, sound, light, motion, ultraviolet rays and cosmic rays. This ether subplane of the physical manifests aspects which operate in human beings under the direction of his conscious mind. Within the physical form, the ultra gaseous matter, known as ether, is operating under the law of attraction, and it draws the physical form from the needed elements in the surrounding space, and it makes them absorb to be utilized in the physical form. The ultra gaseous matter ether, under the law of repulsion, expels from the physical form all the materials that are no longer useful to its maintenance. This is all accomplished under the direction of the subconscious mind. The life force ether is the source of vitality and life for all forms of the mental plane, and the mental plane is interwoven into the spiritual plane, which is interwoven into the plane of force, which is interwoven like a helix into the physical. It is a manifestation of your reproductive organs, Cadman and Nakeba, and all of your seed after you. It operates in the female part of you, Cadman, and all of her functions of reproduction, and from the moment of conception of Nakeba from you, you became man and woman, and a reflection of man, which is the real self symbol of the Tubal Cain, simply Tubal Cain, son of Zillah, meaning in the shadows. Out of the shadows of ignorance, do we build with bronze and iron? The life force ether attracts from the elements around her, that which enables the growth of the new body in her being, not out as you did her Cadman. She will be the mother of all living, Nakeba. The life force ether also manifests activity in producing semen in the male, Cadman. The spark of life, be it male or female, it comes from your likeness to the Anunnaki, most glorified and exalted ones, the benevolent ones. In respects to the light ether is the tunnel from which light from the plane of force penetrates, spreads, and intermingles with the physical plane. The light binds human beings' emotional nature, which is to the emotional center in the physical form, which is located in the solar plexus. The solar plexus is 6.5 to 7 inches above the navel or umbilical seat, as the crimson crown stands 6.5 to 7 inches high. The emotional center superimposes the solar plexus area. The lobe of the light ether is always in perpetual motion. The mental ether forms the bridge between the brain structure of the physical form and the mental body of the physical individual. The mental ether is distributed throughout the brain centers and throughout the cerebrospinal nervous system, which produces mental waves throughout the atmosphere. It is by these mental waves that your thought processes function, and it is because of this mental ether that thought forms are seen, the true light reflecting your every thought. The mental ether is the channel for the transmission of thoughts from one individual to another, a form called telepathy, telepathite, or tarite, which will become increasingly responsive in these last days. In the physical form, the heart is the great center station of life's activity. When the heart fails to pulsate, the body is dead. The bloodstream carries life throughout the channels of the body, being sent there not alone, but by the pumping action of the heart, and also by the law of magnetic attraction. The physical form gives off energy from itself, as well as attracts energies into itself from the marrow of the bones, which flow the ultra-gaseous matter, ether. It registers as a pale silvery mist throughout the physical form, with its concentrated points of activity all around the vital organs. Its principal seat of activity is at the highest point of the right auricle of the heart. The physical body, when one dies, recycles from the ground in which it is planted, and it becomes life again. It penetrates into the atmosphere as films or dust particles, and they are breathed into the nostrils of human beings, where they are recycled by triggering nerves in the sinus cavity beneath the pyramid nose. It works like a kidney to sift the unneeded particles, and that related the chemical composure of that which is needed into the mother's bloodstream. The human flesh is reanimated. This is the process by which a child is given form or flesh in the mother's womb. Then there is the etheric double. During the process of birth, the atoms of the new forming physical form stick fast to the atoms of the etheric form. The physical form, without the vital etheric form interpenetrating it, it is only an empty shell that possesses no vital life. The etheric form, after rising out of the physical form at death, it is also an empty shell, and it disintegrates. It requires the two of them to express life. The etheric body is an interlacing network of etheric wires that are knitted concentratedly at all the seats along the spine. The principal point of contact is the navel or umbilical seat of life. From there, it extends into the spleen by the nerve ganglia. From the umbilical seat of all human beings, desires arise, for this is an emotional center, the principal station of the subconscious mind in human beings, though it operates under the influence of the pituitary gland, or the seat of light of the third eye at the tip of the nasal pyramid, the brow seat of Horus or Heru, the sun. The eye is at the cornerstone of your own pyramid. Tablet 2, the seed of Cadman. 19 times 1 equals 19. Lo, Cadman, your seed's life will be governed more by emotions than by willpower, which means that they will think as much with their abdominal brain in the solar plexus as with the brain in their head. At the present, desire is the motivating factor and the most powerful force in the human being's life. There are two desires at the root of emotion: attract, human desire to possess or move towards something, and retreat, human desire to escape something. The spiritual aura extends beyond the outside of the physical form. Since the emotions of human beings presently rule their life, their spiritual form is entering the height of its development. Their spiritual sense organs are starting to speed up, which means that they are beginning to function on the spiritual. During the hours when their physical consciousness is asleep, with their spiritual sight, their hearing and awareness wakes the dormant spiritual self. This can be preempted by sleep paralysis to stimulate experiences that do not actually happen. This spiritual form contains counterparts of your physical and sense organs. The spiritual form has eyes, nose and mouth, but its organs are not used in the same way as they are on the physical plane. You see through the eyes on the physical plane, and on the spiritual planes, the perception is different. Tablet 3, the spiritual form. 19 times 1 equals 19. Low. But on the spiritual plane, one sees and perceives through the entire physical form, with the eyes serving only as focal points. Human beings on the spiritual plane far surpass the ranges on which the physical beings are capable. The matter, energy of which the spiritual form is composed is constantly in rapid motion, so the sense of seeing, hearing or tasting, smelling and feeling are not stabilized through any particular nerve channel. The spiritual form also contains a conscious, which is a counterpart of the physical brain, with this one difference. The spiritual conscious is capable of remembering both your spiritual experiences and your physical experiences. The mental force field embraces the upper part of the physical form, extending down to the root seat of light at the base of the spine. Its principal points of contact are the pineal and pituitary area, the throat area, the solar plexus. The seat of consciousness is of the world of light, and things focused in the brain passes through the medulla oblongata into the spinal column. The spinal column is an elongation of the seat of consciousness, the seat of visions and senses in the spiritual world of pure blackness, the realm of the free imagination and true overstanding and bliss, which existed before the light of knowledge and chaos. This peaceful darkness is the hippocampus area of the brain, the seat of God. It is the carrier of a liquid ether substance which travels upwards to the seat at the highest point of the brain used, darkness or downward to the seat of light in the root or base of the spine. Liquid ether is the equivalent to E2 plus E8, which is on the physical elementary chart as H2O, that is, 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen producing water. The etheric chart, it's 2 ether 1s plus 1 ether 8 to produce liquid ether. Tablet 4, ether. 19 times 1 equals 19. Low. The ultra-gaseous matter, ether in the physical form, is associated with the solids of the body, such as the structure of the body. The life force, ether, which is etheric form, is involved in the fluids of the body called liquid ether, such as the bloodstream and the excretion of the ovaries and testes. The spirit is in the blood. The blood is liquid. The spirit acts as a spark that ignites the life in the blood. The life produces a light, which appears as an auric shell. It inhouses the soul, which is the light messenger. This messenger transports information to the conscious and subconscious being. The sparks of life trigger the mind that pulls itself from the mental reservoir of intellect, which is governed by the oversoul that is connected by an etheric cord. All messages in light forms travel through the cords from the mental reservoir. Etherins are the guardians of this reservoir of intellect called akasha. Each being receives light messages in their DNAs and RNAs from and through these beings that are responsible for triggering each moment of thought and action in their existence. So, a harmonious flow of energy and life in the form of light messages must travel to the being, rendering each being's inner self etheric.